Honorable viewers, I welcome all of you to my YouTube channel, Department of English. Today I would like to share with you Ulysses Summary and Analysis by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So let's get started. Alfred Lord Tennyson was the pioneer figure of the Victorian movement in Europe. Under the rule of Queen Victoria, he was rewarded with the poet laureate title of the 19th century, duly accepting the responsibility he had been awarded with. The seriousness of the poet's deliverance could be noticed in his total submission to poetry. Let's see table of contents. At first I would like to share with you setting of Ulysses, then I will discuss about summary of Ulysses, then critical analysis of Ulysses, then tone of Ulysses. So let's get start setting of Ulysses. The Victorian period was an age full of malice and unemployment due to the introduction of machines in the workforce. Tennyson falls back on his duty to address the society, not to lose hope with the changing times, and gives the example of the legendary Greek king named Odysseus, who ruled Ithaca and was the ancient hero of Dante's Inferno. The poet is likely to involve the excerpt from the classics to educate the society of 19th century to strive, to seek, and to yield to the industrialization and reformation. Poetic style. The poem is written in dramatic monologue, consisting of a single speaker who addressing his audience from time to time. This form is different from soliloquy, as the audience denoted forms a part of the poem as well. There seems to be an involvement between the speaker and the audience. The speaker considers his audience to respond to him rather than speaking blindly on his own. Tennyson has written this poem in iambic pentameter. Summary of Ulysses. The speaker of this poem, Ulysses, has returned to Ithaca after a long exile of fighting enemies and protecting his realm. He has devoted all his life participating in wars and discovering places by traveling to unnamed lands full of danger and insecurity. He has become prone to a life of uncertainty. Coming from a long voyage of fighting battles to a mundane life of a king, he starts to lament his life. He presents himself in a monologue and cries out boldly that there is merely no progress in a life of an ideal king. Daily he sits on the same throne, dealing with the same lazy heap of people, granting them same gifts and devising same punishments. His wife, also old, adds to this grave of his. He feels trapped to this mundaneness of life. He cannot accept the ways of the king when all his life is spent in forced savagely. He describes the irony, saying that the fox he rules doesn't even know him, yet they hurriedly declare themselves to the unequal laws. He doesn't wish to be in control. Thus, he doesn't want to summon anyone in his name. Ulysses tries to leave a remark on the kingdom he left before going on the fighting spear again, and is somehow unable to adjust to the changing environment he encounters. He reminds himself of the time when his life was free and crude. He wishes to go back to traveling, which gave him enough experiences to cherish all his life. He states that he has enjoyed different climates, both severe and beautiful, and has survived both. He wishes to drink life to the rim with no boundaries with the people who accompanied him in those days. He tries to declare the lifestyle he has found solace in, which doesn't match the life of a stately king. Now that he is old and others think of him as physically weak, he wishes to disagree with the norms and tries to revive his qualities he possessed when he was young. He concludes that he is the part of all that he has made and experienced, and one cannot separate him from his adventures. He was the part of the Trojan War, and Dark willfully won that night as winners. To consider himself as a designed body left just for breathing into the end of days makes him feel sick. The speaker is aware of his death hovering near him, yet he refuses submission to destiny. If he goes for a look out, he is sure to engage himself to new events of life. The second stanza claims to acknowledge a group of members of his kingdom. He introduces his son Telemachus and tries to justify his abilities to root in his flesh. His son beholds the ability to place the household gods and to make laws to rule the ragged crowd. Meekly. He claims that his son is the most appropriate for the job because he is used to the common ways of the king. So he pleads to the fox to take his son rather as the king so that he can return to his old life. The third stanza is the poet play to set out on his last voyage with the sailors who have accompanied him. He denotes the sailors to ravish themselves for the last time to set their foot out in the sea to establish yet gain their glories. He confesses that they may all die and be wished away by the sea or may also meet the gods on the other side of the universe. He has opened himself to varied possibilities and wishes his friends to do same before death close all. He is sure to progress even in the last days of his life because he has a never ending will to hasten. Critical analysis of Ulysses. In this dramatic monologue, Ulysses justifies himself for running away from his responsibilities. He tries to convince his folks to accept Telemachus as their king so that he can continue with his sea voyages. Not only does he praise Telemachus but also criticizes the mundane life of his kingdom and tries his best to get rid of it. He also wants to explore beyond the knowledge of man which is not regarded biblical. He tries to disown his old wife because there is nothing extraordinary in accepting a safe livelihood. In all, the poet confirms that one should not be just a breathing body but to make use of their strength even in the end of days. Tone of Ulysses. In the first stanza, the speaker denotes to no one but himself, as he secretly laments the position of the kingdom and his wife who falls under his disapproval. In the second stanza, he introduces his son Telemachus to the readers, trying to justify his abilities while showing his wish to be freed away from his responsibilities. In the third and last stanza, he has the vigor to proceed and a settlement with the death that has given him the courage to go bound with the knowledge of humans. Conclusion. This poem has showcased Tennyson's excellency in writing poems as a laureate while establishing his personal outlook. The industrialization has also taken him back and he fears future. Thus, it tries to provide solace to the readers of the Victorian era. He is also seen grieving over the loss of his young friend. The mental crisis of poets' mind always leave an impact on their poems. And even if the story does not surround them, they unintentionally mention the excerpts of their real life. The Greek hero was also a tragic hero who realized that death may anytime conquer him, so he strives to die with adventure. So that's all about Ulysses summary and analysis. For the timing, thanks for your patience hearing.